Most people know the White House is the most powerful residence in the world, but what most people don't know is what's underneath it. There's a bunker, not a rumor. A real, heavily fortified, top-secret facility designed to keep the President of the United States alive when the unthinkable happens. Nuclear war, terrorist attacks, total national collapse. And this isn't some Cold War relic. It's been updated, expanded, and, according to some insiders, connected to a vast network of hidden infrastructure stretching across Washington, D.C. Presidents have used it, plans have been activated, and there are strict protocols in place in case everything above ground suddenly stops working. But how did this bunker come to be? Who decides what happens when the red alert goes off? And what exactly is the government hiding down there? Let's pull back the concrete and steel and dive into the secret history of America's last line of defense, the White House bunker. To understand the White House bunker, you have to go back to a time when the world genuinely believed it could end at any moment. It's 1941, just after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The United States has officially entered World War II, and Washington, D.C., becomes a potential target. The threat of air raids and espionage isn't just paranoia, it's reality. That's when President Franklin D. Roosevelt orders the construction of a secret shelter beneath the East Wing of the White House. They call it the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or PEOC, pronounced PEAC. But you won't find photos of it from that time. There are no press briefings, no public mentions. The entire project is cloaked in absolute secrecy. Engineers work quietly, digging out a secure, blast-resistant room underneath the White House complex. Its purpose? To give the commander-in-chief a place to survive, and command, if bombs ever start falling on the Capitol. And this wasn't a one-time idea. The PEOC has been upgraded and reimagined over the decades, especially during the Cold War, when the threat of nuclear war loomed large. Every president from Truman to Reagan received classified briefings on the protocols, where to go, who to trust, and how to lead a shattered country, possibly from deep underground. It's the same room Vice President Dick Cheney was rushed to on the morning of September 11, 2001. As hijacked planes hit the Pentagon and the Twin Towers, the White House went into full lockdown. The president was in the air. But Cheney? He was beneath the surface, inside the bunker. The PEOC isn't some myth. It's been used during real crises. It's been activated when America felt most vulnerable. And if a major threat hit today, the plan would likely still involve that same hidden doorway, that same underground hallway, and that same cold, secure room under the East Wing. But the bunker you think you know, it's just the surface. There are whispers of something much bigger, something deeper, and it all starts with what happened after 9/11. After 9/11, everything changed. The United States government realized just how vulnerable it really was. For years, the idea of a direct attack on the Capitol seemed like something from a Tom Clancy novel. But now, it was on live TV, in real time, and Washington needed a backup plan, fast. That's when the continuity of government protocols went into overdrive. Plans that had existed mostly on paper were suddenly being activated. And the White House bunker, once seen as a Cold War relic, was given new life. Engineers and military contractors were brought in under classified contracts. Some upgrades were visible, new security checkpoints, reinforced doors, but most of the work, totally hidden. And it wasn't just the PEOC anymore. Rumors started swirling in national security circles about expansion. Not just deeper levels under the White House, but connections, tunnels, elevators, high-speed transport routes, linking to other facilities across D.C. and even into nearby Virginia. Insiders began referring to something called Site R. Others mentioned Mount Weather, but the common thread was clear. If the president couldn't stay safe at the White House, there were places he could be taken, fast. In fact, right after 9/11, there were reports that high-ranking officials were sent to undisclosed locations, Some say bunkers beneath mountains, others say mobile command centers embedded in rural airfields. And the way to trigger it all? A phone call, a code word, a sudden relocation via military transport. No public explanation, no press conference, just disappearance, until the threat passed. Since then, presidents are routinely briefed on these protocols in their first few days in office. Where to go, who to bring, what to say and not say if the country is under attack. And it's not just about physical survival. The continuity of government plan includes launching communications systems from inside the bunker, restoring order, broadcasting messages to the nation, all from deep beneath the White House lawn. Once you're inside the White House bunker, it's not what Hollywood makes it out to be. There are no high-tech touchscreens, no blinking red buttons, no giant launch switches. What there is control. Security. Layers upon layers of reinforced concrete, steel blast doors, and systems designed to keep the chain of command alive in a worst-case scenario. The original PEOC, built in the 1940s, was small, just a few rooms deep under the east wing, with 7-foot-thick concrete walls and an emergency power supply. But over time, it evolved. Especially after 9/11, the upgrades accelerated. The modern PEOC is believed to be several stories underground, equipped with advanced communications gear, secure briefing rooms, and independent life support systems. But that's just the known part. Here's where it gets interesting. There are rumors, persistent well-sourced rumors, about additional levels, sub-bunkers, hidden floors that don't appear on any official plans. Some even claim the PEOC is just an access point to a much larger complex hidden beneath Washington, D.C. This isn't just conspiracy chatter. Over the years, pieces of information have slipped out. Contractors talking off record, declassified budget line items labeled continuity infrastructure, even maps leaked from Cold War archives that hint at interconnected facilities buried deep beneath the Capitol. And then, there's the technology. Inside the bunker, everything is designed to function even if the rest of the country is in chaos. Satellite links, military-grade secure phones, redundant data servers, even a shadow internet, a closed-loop network for classified communications in case the real one goes down. The president, vice president, and top advisors can not only survive here, they can govern from here. Orders can be issued, missiles can be launched, wars can be directed. And here's the kicker. The existence of multiple underground presidential emergency facilities across the country, some mobile, some buried under mountains, suggests the White House bunker may not be the final destination. It may just be the first stop. Because if everything above ground collapses, the plan is already in place, and the next move happens without the public ever knowing. If you've ever seen photos of the White House lawn looking freshly dug up, or construction vehicles parked suspiciously near the East Wing, you're not imagining things. That's because the bunker beneath the White House isn't designed to be a dead-end shelter. It's a launch pad. There are long-standing rumors that the PEOC connects to a vast underground network, sometimes referred to as the Federal Relocation Arc. These are high-security tunnels and facilities that link critical government buildings throughout Washington, D.C., and extend far beyond the city limits. The most frequently mentioned destination? Mount Weather, a heavily guarded compound in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, around 70 miles from the capital. It's not fiction. It exists. It's listed in FEMA documents as a command center for national emergencies, and yes, it's built into a mountain. Mount Weather is allegedly stocked with everything a government would need to operate in secret bunkers, communications arrays, dormitories, even miniature versions of federal offices. In the event of a catastrophic attack on D.C., this is where the top levels of government could go dark, and then re-emerge, ready to reassert control. But Mount Weather isn't the only rumored endpoint. Another site, Raven Rock, or Site R, located on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Known as the Underground Pentagon, this Cold War-era bunker is said to be capable of housing military and executive leaders for extended periods, complete with war rooms and satellite uplinks. And then, there's the COGS. Short for Continuity of Government Sites, these are supposedly classified locations scattered throughout the country. Some are mobile, transported by air or land, others are buried deep in rural landscapes. Only a handful of people even know where they are. Each one is a backup plan for when the backup plans fail. What connects them? The theory is that the White House bunker isn't just a safe room, it's an access point. One press of a hidden button, and a secure tunnel route, an armored convoy, or even a helicopter evacuation sends the president toward one of these facilities. Quietly. So, what exactly happens if the United States comes under full-scale attack? Not a drill, not a briefing, but the real thing: nuclear weapons inbound, enemy forces mobilizing, communications collapsing. This is where the Doomsday protocols kick in. When the threat level reaches a certain classified threshold, the president, vice president, and a select few cabinet members are immediately evacuated. If they're in the White House, they're taken down into the bunker. If they're elsewhere, Air Force One, a secure motorcade, or rapid deployment helicopters come into play. But it's not just about getting underground. The government has an entire infrastructure set up to maintain control, even after a full-blown national disaster. It's called continuity of government, or COG, and it's not theoretical. The plan includes reconstitution of the three branches of government if Congress or the Supreme Court are wiped out. A line of succession that includes over a dozen people, from the vice president all the way to lesser-known cabinet secretaries. Classified communications platforms, launched from bunkers and satellites, to relay emergency instructions to military units and surviving civilian populations. National emergency broadcast protocols, to allow the president to address the nation from anywhere, even underground. There's something called the Presidential Emergency Action Documents, or PADs. These are secret orders that can be activated in times of extreme crisis. They're not laws. They've never been seen by the public, but they reportedly give the executive branch temporary sweeping powers: mass surveillance, martial law, suspension of habeas corpus, and more. No one knows exactly what's in them, but they're ready to go, written, updated, locked in classified vaults. And all it takes is one catastrophic event for them to be enacted. In that moment, the White House bunker becomes more than just a shelter. It becomes the nerve center of a government operating in total secrecy. One that doesn't answer to public opinion. One that may not even confirm it still exists, until the dust settles. But what if things don't settle? The White House is more than a building. It's a symbol: stability, order, democracy. But if the Capitol is in flames, the cities are dark, and the skies are silent, then that symbol has to move. And when that happens, the bunker doesn't just protect the president, it becomes the White House. Every modern president is trained for this scenario. In classified briefings, they're shown the maps, the escape routes, the sequence of decisions they'll have to make. These aren't just hypotheticals, they're protocols, because if they ever have to govern from underground, the entire country still needs to function. Laws need to be signed, military orders must be relayed, diplomacy has to continue, even if the world outside is falling apart. Inside the bunker, the president is surrounded by a skeleton crew. Military commanders, national security advisors, communication specialists. Everyone has one job: to make sure the presidency can still operate, even if they're the last ones standing. The continuity system also includes mirror agencies, pre-designated backup officials who can take over if the original cabinet members are lost. In some cases, these alternates are already stationed at secret facilities, just waiting for the order to step in. And then, there's the designated survivor. The person chosen to stay far away from the State of the Union address, just in case something catastrophic happens to everyone else in Washington. That's not just a ceremonial role. It's part of a deeply strategic plan to keep government alive. But if the president is underground and the public isn't told where he is, and decisions are being made behind layers of encryption and classified clearance, is that still democracy? That's the uncomfortable truth at the heart of this system. The White House bunker is designed to keep the presidency safe, but it also raises massive questions about transparency, power, and what kind of government could emerge after a true doomsday event. Because once the president goes underground, how long before the truth does too? Here's the twist nobody talks about. The White House bunker? It's not guaranteed to save everyone, not even everyone in the White House. In fact, only a very limited number of people are cleared to enter during an actual emergency. And that's not based on loyalty or popularity, it's based on cold, strategic calculations who's essential to keep the country running. We're talking about a short list. And if you're not on it, even if you're staff, Secret Service, or a senior official, you don't get in. This has created serious tension in the past. During the 9/11 attacks, while Vice President Cheney and key advisors were rushed into the PEOC, other officials were left scrambling. Some didn't even know where to go, others were turned away. There's even footage of staff members in suits literally running through the streets of DC looking for cover. And here's the bigger twist. Not all presidents want to use the bunker. Some have refused evacuation during threats. Others have insisted on staying visible above ground, believing that disappearing underground could cause public panic, or worse, signal weakness to enemies. But this decision isn't just personal, it's political. If the president goes dark and takes control from a classified location, there's a risk the public will feel abandoned. There's also a risk of confusion inside the chain of command. Who's in charge if the president is unreachable? What happens if communications fail? And then, there's the uncomfortable truth about what it feels like to govern from a bunker. There's no sunlight, no windows. Constant surveillance. Emergency lights, thick air. Alarms that can go off at any moment. Even with high-end equipment and contingency protocols, it's still a sealed room deep underground. For days, weeks, maybe longer. Imagine trying to make the biggest decisions of your life, in the dark, under pressure, and knowing that the surface might never be the same again. The White House bunker isn't just a room, it's a reality check. It exists because the worst-case scenario is always on the table. War, terrorism, collapse, and for over 80 years, the United States has quietly prepared for that possibility. Layer by layer, tunnel by tunnel, protocol by protocol. And yet, it's still not something most Americans think about. There's no public tour, no floor plan, no official photos. If you ask the government for details, they'll either deny, deflect, or flat out redact everything. Why? But the legacy of the bunker goes beyond steel walls and blast doors. It's about how power is protected, how leadership is preserved, and what kind of decisions are made when the lights go out. Every president since Roosevelt has had to face that moment, the briefing, the walkthrough, the understanding that if things go wrong, really wrong, this is where they'll lead from. Deep below the most powerful house in the world, hidden from view, cut off from chaos. They'll sit at a desk. But here's the part most people forget. No matter how advanced the bunker is, it only works if the person inside knows what to do. The protocols are written, the escape routes are mapped, the contingencies are planned. But in the end, it all comes down to one person, sitting underground facing the end of the world, and deciding what happens next. So the next time you walk past the White House, or see it on the news, remember, what you see above is just part of the story. Because buried underneath it is the final insurance policy for an entire nation. If this blew your mind, hit the like button, subscribe for more hidden history, and let us know in the comments, what would you do if you were the president and the world was falling apart?